So we enter European territory as the UEFA Champions League resumes this week, and we have some pretty big games coming up, some pretty crucial games coming up for some of those teams in the UEFA Champions League as we reach the business end and as the group stages come to a conclusion. We have 2 match days left. This week's match day and the one next week, and there's some teams in there anxiously and eagerly hoping to book their tickets into this season's round of 16 stage, joining a few teams that did already qualify last week. Now, as I say, there's some pretty big games coming up, and in particular, we have big games coming up in Group B, Group D, Group H, and Group A, and we'll be taking a look at some of those games particularly. And we'll start off in Group B, and this is the group that I believe each and everyone should be keeping an eye out for this week. This group consists of Real Madrid, Borussia Mönchengladbach, Inter Milan, and Shakhtar Donetsk. And of course, this is a group that we thought Real Madrid and Inter Milan would dominate and would be the automatic teams to qualify from this stage and go into the round of 16. But as we see it currently, Borussia Mönchengladbach find themselves at the top of the table in this group stage. They've had quite an impressive run in this season's Champions League, surprising everybody, surprising even me, and this has been a marvel to watch. They've been a marvel to watch, in all honesty. They've scored 14 goals so far this season in the UEFA Champions League, and I have to say they deserve to be in top spot. Then second place, you have Real Madrid on 7 points. Borussia Mönchengladbach, of course, have 8, and Real Madrid are down in second in 7 points. Shakhtar Donetsk in third with 3 points. Then shockingly, Inter Milan sweep the bottom of the table with only 2 points. Now the fixture list for this week is Shakhtar Donetsk host Real Madrid, while Borussia Mönchengladbach take on Inter Milan, and we will start off with that Shakhtar game. And the big question is, what is going on with Real Madrid given their recent performances? Now, Real Madrid last week managed to defeat Inter Milan by 3-2, and restoring some optimism and some hope within the football club, but their recent result in La Liga, where they lost by 2-1 against Alaves, has just ripped the band-aid open and just brought in a whole flow of questions and more criticism and just more skepticism growing around the football club and growing around managers in the den. And yes, as I said, what is going on now? Earlier on in the season, prior to the start of the season, I said that this Real Madrid team is a team that thrives off recruitments, and yes, due to the financial implications caused by COVID-19, they weren't able to go out and make any recruitments. And when you looked at this Real Madrid squad, I mean, they are still the squad that won last season's La Liga championship, and you thought to yourselves, okay, I bet they can go in this season and maybe yet again try to defend the La Liga crown and then push on in the UEFA Champions League. But that has not been the case. Fatigue building on from the games from last season, and then the compacted games that this season has had to offer game after game, Champions League, club football, domestic football, then international games. They've witnessed firsthand the consequences of having so many games to play and the fatigue, and that is injuries. And of course, we go into this game against Shakhtar Donetsk with Real Madrid missing some key players. Karim Benzema is still out, Sergio Ramos is out, then Eden Hazard picked up his 9th injury since landing in Madrid over the weekend against Alaves, and from what we hear is going to be out for around 3 weeks. And of course, Real Madrid has just, from my point of view, those have all played a part in their inconsistent performances and just how woeful they've been this season. But at the same time, I think Zinedine Zidane finds himself in a situation whereby, from what I think is, Real Madrid needs a change in manager. That's my opinion. Real Madrid definitely need a change in manager. Now, Zinedine Zidane came into this Real Madrid squad a couple years ago, and when he came into Real Madrid, everything was all rosy, and he transformed this Real Madrid side, and they went on to win 3 consecutive Champions League titles. They managed to win the La Liga title, and this was all during that Cristiano Ronaldo era. And yes, as much as credit has to go to Zinedine Zidane, we cannot overlook that fact that he had Cristiano Ronaldo during that time period. During that time period, there was always a focal point at Real Madrid. Real Madrid is a team that is filled with superstars, but there was always that one man. We all knew Real Madrid to be Ronaldo's team, and every time they stepped out onto the pitch, yes, these other players, likes of Toni Kroos, Luka Modric, Benzema, Gareth Bale, they were all world beaters. On their days, you could look at them and be like, wow, this is Hollywood football. But they always try to make sure that they create a scenario for their star man to thrive. He was always the guy getting them those crucial games, and those crucial games was getting them the victories, getting those vital goals. And yes, as much as Zinedine Zidane deserves his credit, it was mostly Cristiano Ronaldo during that time, and you cannot overlook that fact. And ever since he left, Real Madrid have just been an unstable team. Yes, they won La Liga last season after Zinedine Zidane came back, but the truth of the matter is, after that victory, after that triumph, I thought to myself that, you know what, Zinedine Zidane, in the first place, you decided to leave. You came back when Real Madrid were in trouble, when they were in turmoil, and you helped them out, yes, but after that, he had to leave. In my opinion, he had to leave after last season, and he has overstayed his welcome. This season, after that defeat against Alaves, was asked, what is the problem? Why are you so inconsistent? And his answer, I don't know. And a lot of people have come out saying that they do not believe what is going on. I mean, they don't believe his answer. But the truth of the matter is, putting myself in Zinedine Zidane's shoes is, when I have this pool of players, you know, I have Modric, I have Cruz, I have Vinicius Jr., I have Eden Hazard, you know, I send them out. I expect you to get the job done. I have every belief in my bone, in my veins, that this squad can beat any team in the world. And when you go out there and lose against Alaves, you have to be standing there left bewildered and scratching your head. And that's why I believe him, that he absolutely does not know what is going on with his Real Madrid side. But you could look at it, and from the outside, it looks like this team just isn't united. It looks like a team that, you know, whose window has shut, whose door has shut. During that time period, whenever they'd go out, you'd see this Real Madrid team, and you know, they just knew where each and every one of them was. Every time they played the pass, before they played the pass, they already knew where this player was, which runs he was making, what kind of runs he was making. During that time period where they won 3 consecutive trophies, Champions League trophies, this Madrid team was unbeatable, but now they look beatable. Look at FC Barcelona. They're going through a transitional period right now with Ronald Koeman. They're trying to go away from that theory of being so dependent on Lionel Messi and try to get the best out of each and every one on the team. And from what I'm seeing so far, it is kind of working out. It is slow, but it is happening. Ronald Koeman is slowly getting that philosophy into this Barcelona team, where they're distancing their dependency on Lionel Messi. And I feel like Real Madrid have to realize that that door has shut. They have to go through a transition as well. They have to change things up. They have to change the philosophy. And for that to happen, Zinedine Zidane has to be out of that football club. And it's like, I don't mean that he goes out of coaching altogether. It's just that he needs to go to a different club. He's done what he can do with Real Madrid, but now it's time for him to go on, move on, and it's time for them to depart. And it's time for them to move on with their lives. That's my opinion on this Real Madrid side. But they go up against Shakhtar Donetsk in a must-win game, because if Shakhtar win this game, then they draw level on points with them, and that means they'll have a very crucial game to play on the last day of the group stages, which will be next week. But Real Madrid have to win this game. How can they win this game? They have to go out there, and he has to motivate this team somehow. He has to motivate this team and say, "What, you are Real Madrid. You players are better than those players out there," and that is simply a fact. Football, yes, it's a team sport, but you look at the individual quality within this Real Madrid side, they have to be winning games. And more often than not this season, every time they've needed a result, they've gone out to get a result. So he just needs to motivate his team, then go out there against Shakhtar Donetsk, a team that, you know, has proved to be quite stubborn this season. But from my opinion, Real Madrid have more than enough to get the job done against Shakhtar Donetsk and get all the 3 points. I'll be very surprised if they don't get those 3 points, and those will just be more questions for Zinedine Zidane. Then, of course, Borussia Mönchengladbach taking on Inter Milan. Now, Borussia Mönchengladbach, I can't praise them enough. They've done everything right so far this season. They've scored 14 goals so far, and they are top of their table in the group stages. And of course, in the Bundesliga, they're replicating this performance in both competitions. In the previous game, they won 4-1 against Schalke, and the commentator was like, they taught them a real textbook counter-attacking efficiency lesson. And this team has just been perfect and has just been a marvel to watch in the attacking sense. And for Inter Milan's case, they're a team that has actually been the architects of their own downfall, because the games that they've lost this season, there's no argument or case to be made that, you know what, they deserve to get anything out of that game. When they lose games, they deserve to lose those games. They've been awful. Now, they won against Sassuolo over the weekend, and when Inter Milan and Antonio Conte, it's like this team plays off vibes. It's like they play off their mood. I mean, they wake up one morning and they all decide that, you know what, we're in the mood. Let's go out there and let's play football. And when they do that, then you look at them and like, okay, wow, okay, they definitely have the potential to go on and win something. But it's like when they are not in the mood, they'll just like, we have a game today. All right, let's go out there and let's see what happens. And you just see that, you know, there's just no energy. There's just nothing from them when they lose games, and they go up against the Borussia Mönchengladbach side, which is a pretty tough game. Now, they do still have hope of perhaps just getting into the Europa League. That's as far as they're gonna go. That's as far as an achievement that they're going to get from the group stage, is getting into the Europa League. And if they want to get into the Europa League, they have to win this game. But it's a tough task going up against Borussia Mönchengladbach, who have just been perfect this season. And if you have to ask me, then it's going to be a pretty tight game. If their mood is bad today, then they're going to lose the game. But if their mood is good today, and if Borussia Mönchengladbach turn up, then they could get maybe a 2-1 victory, or they could get maybe a 2-1 victory. But all signs point towards a Borussia Mönchengladbach victory, in my opinion, because they're coming into this one in high hopes and with high spirits. So it's going to be a tough game for Antonio Conte, but it's a must-win game for him as well. Now we go into Group D, where Liverpool, Ajax and Atalanta find themselves in a struggle for qualification for the round of 16. Now, Liverpool take on Ajax, and of course they need only one victory to seal qualification for the round of 16, but they go up against an Ajax team that in their own sense will be hoping to also get into the round of 16, and if they can get top spot, then they will get top spot. Liverpool have 9 points, and Atlanta and Ajax have 7 points, so just 2 points separates the second and third from first. And the Liverpool versus Ajax game, how can Liverpool come into this game and get all 3 points and still qualification? My answer to that is doing what they've been doing to get them at the top of the table of the group stages, and of course get them where they are in the Premier League, the second in the league. Against Brighton, of course, there was more VAR controversy, but in all honesty, looking back at that game, it was a penalty. It was a penalty at the death of the game, and they converted and they failed to get all the 3 points. But Liverpool have more artillery in this game. They come up against Ajax with Mohamed Salah. They have Sadio Mane, Diogo Jota, who is unbeatable at the moment, who just can't stop himself, just can't help himself from scoring goals. And yes, they have more defensive woes, more defensive issues with James Milner, confirmed that he is going to be out with a hamstring injury. That means there's going to be more shifts and more changes in the back line, which going up against an Ajax side who aren't afraid, who aren't going to sit back, who are definitely going to hit you, and who are going to try and press you, who are going to try and go foot to foot with Liverpool, then it's going to be interesting to see how this game actually pans out. I still think Liverpool have more than enough to seal qualification by winning this game, but they go up against an Ajax team that is equally resilient, a team that isn't afraid to go up against the big dogs and show them that, you know what, yes, you may be the bigger dog, but you know, if we can get a bite, then we are going to hurt you. So it's going to be an interesting game to see which team actually comes out of this one. Then of course we have Atalanta taking on Milan. Now, Atalanta defeated Liverpool last time round, and they got that victory over the weekend in the Serie A, 2-0 victory over, I forget the name of the team that they played. So they come into this game with high spirits, but Milan are the only team in this group stage, in this table, with no points. They've lost all 4 games. That means they have nothing to lose in this game, and teams that have nothing to lose are normally a worry. They should normally be the teams that you want to avoid, because you know, they're going to go out there and play their football. They're going to go out there and try to just enjoy themselves and go out with the bang. So Atalanta are favorites of this game, but they have to be worried. They have to have very good game management. The manager should set him still up in a way that, you know what, if you get the goals, then be smart about it. Be intelligent by the way you go about this game. Because if you mess up and think that they have no points and lost all their games in this group stages, and they think that it's going to be a walkover, then we could be in for a surprise. And they have to win this game if they want to keep any hopes of them qualifying the next stage alive. So it's another big game, Atalanta against Milan in Group D today. Then of course on Wednesday we have a Group H, We have the teams in Group H going up against each other, and in Group H we have Manchester United, PSG, Istanbul, Başakşehir, and of course we have RB Leipzig. Now, Manchester United currently lead the table in Group H with on 9 points. PSG and RB Leipzig coming in second and third consecutively with 6 points, so only 3 points separate second and third from first, and of course Istanbul Başakşehir sweeping the bottom of the table with only 3 points. So the big game, of course, is Manchester United up against PSG. This is the big game. This is the game that everyone is looking towards this season. I mean, this match week. And in all honesty, Manchester United only need a point to qualification, while for PSG, they've had quite an up and down season so far. They've had quite a roller coaster of a season, losing, drawing, winning, and there's really no momentum within this PSG squad at the moment. And they got a 1-0 victory against RB Leipzig last week in the UEFA Champions League, but it was a narrow victory whereby they got the penalty when Neymar scored the penalty, but it was all RB Leipzig. RB Leipzig were just unlucky in the night, just unfortunate they didn't come out with anything. But they got Thomas Tuchel knows that this is a very crucial game, and given the fact that they dropped points over the weekend yet again in Ligue 1, there's pressure. There's definitely pressure in this PSG team, because if they lose this game against Manchester United, they lost the first leg. If they lose this game, then hopes of them, the likelihood of them qualifying are nil, and that means they'll find themselves in the Europa League. For a team that has invested more, I think, billions of money into the squad, then Europa League, that's just not where they belong, and Thomas Tuchel knows that his job he'll be out of a job if that happens. So this is a pretty crucial game for PSG, and how do they win this game? They have to play as a team. As simple as that. And depending on how Manchester United sets up, Manchester United need only 1 point, as I said, and for in all honesty, Manchester United is putting in a string of wonderful performances, some pretty impressive performances over the recent couple of weeks. And the only scare that I have with them is, yes, Manchester United fans, there's more to be confident going into this one. But most times when you're overconfident, when Manchester United gets to the stage, they normally tend to buffer things up. They normally tend to crumble things up. So, and they go up against the PSG team, as I said, who are under pressure. Now, United. I'll start off with United and go to PSG. With Manchester United, they can basically seal qualification in 2 ways. Now, Donny van de Beek has been a revelation ever since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer decided to give him his chance within the first team. And the fact of the matter is, he is definitely a quality player that you want in your first 11. And so, if Manchester United want to play against PSG at Old Trafford and maybe go out and score the number of goals they've been scoring, 3-2 against Southampton, scoring 5 against RB Leipzig, then Donny van de Beek has to be in that starting lineup. He has to be in the starting lineup with Bruno Fernandes, because these two are from the partnership that watching it from home, I'm like, wow, where has this been? Why wasn't he starting from the start of the season? And Manchester United look to be a team that is starting to connect the dots. They're starting to connect the dots. This is the kind of football that we want to see them play. This is the kind of football that we expect Manchester United to actually replicate. You know, attacking, free-flowing, scoring kind of football. And Donny van de Beek is an integral part in that, because he has an eye for a pass. He's unselfish, and he progresses the ball the same way that Bruno Fernandes does. And so if they want to go out there and then, you know, outscore PSG, and score lots of goals against PSG, then Donny van de Beek has to start that game. But if you want to get a draw, because they only need a draw, and if you want to qualify by drawing the game, then they need to get someone to sit in front of that back four with Fred. Fred has been, I've loved the way Fred has reinvigorated his career at Manchester United, and he just keeps on getting better and better with each and every passing game. He's a midfield presence, the number 6 presence. He knows that, you know what, he always makes his presence known. He has these rash tackles, yes, but he cuts off, he breaks up play, cuts off play, and then at the same time, he seems he's getting lessons from Bruno Fernandes or Paul Pogba, but because I see lately he can spread the ball, he can pass the ball, and he has been a revelation so far. But if they want to get the draw, because we know that PSG are an attacking side, this as equally as Real Madrid is Hollywood football, so they're gonna have to put someone in there, either Matic or McTominay. Personally, I'd prefer Matic. I love McTominay. I mean, I respect McTominay and what he is trying to do, but I think that Matic's experience would be the difference maker in this game against PSG. If they want to limit the number of chances and the number of goals that PSG could get, because they have Kylian Mbappe, you have Neymar, you have Di Maria, you have Verratti going down the middle, Idrissa Gueye, you know that they are going to come out to you. And if you don't have your midfield solid, then they are definitely going to split your midfield open and be able to create chances and score the goal. So it would be better if they have like two holding midfielders in front of the back four, then cutting off the play and then just limiting PSG's chances of scoring. But if they want to take their chances and say that, you know, I think we're at a level whereby we can go toe to toe with PSG and perhaps get goals as well. So then they have to get Donny van de Beek in there with Bruno Fernandes, Fred just behind them, and then hope that Rashford and perhaps even Martial, if he gets to start, given the performance that Edison Cavani puts in over the weekend, then maybe if they manage to get the front forwards scoring on the night, then there's a chance. But it's a big game for PSG, just as it's a big game for RB Leipzig. They go up against Istanbul Basaksehir. You know, honestly, I think all roads lead towards an RB Leipzig victory. For United versus PSG, it's very hard to call, but PSG under pressure. They have to get this victory. Thomas Tuchel knows what's at stake, and I think if anything, he has to give a World Cup final kind of motivation speech to his players before the game, because his job is on the line, and for the players, their reputation is on the line as well. Their egos are on the line. We know PSG to be an egoistic team, so their egos, their reputation is on the line. So he has to come up with something big to motivate those boys against Manchester United. Then of course, Group A, that is Atletico Madrid versus Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich have already sealed qualification. Atletico Madrid have only 5 points, and of course we have Lokomotiv Moscow with 3 points. So Atletico Madrid have to avoid defeat in this game against Bayern Munich if they don't have any chance of qualifying for the knockout stages. They've been perfect, they've been good, they've been impressive in La Liga, and very many of us have them as the favorites to win La Liga. But in the Champions League, their performances have been contradictory. So they have to avoid defeat against Bayern Munich, which is very hard because they are the best team in the world. But they have to try and avoid defeat if they want to have any sort of chance against in going into the next round of games. Lokomotiv go up against Red Bull Salzburg. Lokomotiv have been fairly impressive, so I would expect them to go out there and get a victory. So if Atletico Madrid loses that game, then Lokomotiv wins that game. That means it's out of their hands, and Lokomotiv Moscow will have all the power in their hands, and they'll just hold the faith in their own destiny. And as I say, for a team like Atletico Madrid, you don't want to have your fate in the hands of somebody else. You want to be in control of your own destiny. So they have to avoid defeat. Somehow they're going to have to find a way of breaking down this Bayern Munich side and getting a victory against the best team in the world. But we have other games coming up as well. We have the likes of Marseille taking on Olympiacos, Manchester City playing Porto. We have Club Brugge playing Zenit. Ferencváros taking on Barcelona, Juventus playing Dynamo Kiev, and all that and more coming up to you this week in the UEFA Champions League. We can't wait for it, and I can't wait to see you guys all in the review show. I expect this to be feisty, I expect this to be entertaining, and every bit of it enthralling. But for now, I'm going Victor Heinz, and goodbye for now. See you soon.